What's going on, podcast listeners? My name is Michael Chernow. I am a restaurateur and lifestyle entrepreneur, and I am truly obsessed with living a life better than yesterday through wellness, fitness, and good vibes. I've always wondered if the drive to succeed is something we are born with, or if it's something that is made over time through grit, drive, and perseverance. I get to answer that question exactly, and the goal of this podcast is to talk with people that have absolutely crushed it in life and have inspired me to do the same. This is Born or Made. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Born or Made podcast. I have a guest on the show today that is, looking at his bio, the man has done so much in such a short period of time. I don't know how old he is, but he looks young. And I can't imagine that he's super old, but he is the youngest founder of a publicly traded company in history. Dan Fleyshman has launched one of the top 5 online poker websites globally, co-founded the 100 Million Mastermind Experience, a bunch of other things he's done, but his main mission today is something called Model Citizens Fund, where he makes backpacks for the homeless, packed with 150 emergency supply items. Dan, you've also been integral for me over the last few months, trying to help me get my new project off the ground. Welcome to the show, my man. I'm super excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Let's go.
So the way the Born or Made podcast goes is the way the Born or Made podcast show goes is I get to speak to guys like you, and I get to ask you a bunch of questions so the listener can walk away with a bunch of cool content. I'm really interested in the nature nurture question, whether you think you were born with an inherent or innate ability to absolutely crush it the way you have, or if you were made over time. Being the youngest founder of a publicly traded company, I would imagine I can figure out whether or not you think you were born or made, but I guess we'll wait for that till the end. Really what I want to know, man, is I would love for you to take us back to as early as you can remember, and give us your story, because I'm sure it's a good one.
So moved from Riga, Latvia when I was 6 months old. At 4 years old to 8 years old, my parents were selling Levi's jeans out of the back of a van at the swap meet every weekend. And right next to their jeans, back of the van, I had my little table for baseball cards. So that was my little Gary Vee story. It's like I was immigrated from Latvia, started buying and selling only baseball cards, no other sports, buying and selling baseball cards from 4 years old to 8 years old every single weekend. That's where I was.
What year was that?
We moved here in 1982. And so basically from 86 to 1990, I was out there in the swap meets. And then I loved baseball cards. Then when my parents got divorced, my mom and I moved to San Diego. My older brother stayed in LA with my dad. And so I started buying and selling candy. My mom would give me $20 to buy candy at Costco because she didn't have any money. My dad didn't have any money. And so I was just doing whatever I could to think about ways to make money, even as a small child. And so
wait, can I just stop you there though for a second? And this is my sort of Gary Vee interruption stuff.
Sure.
So you were selling baseball cards at 4 years old, and you were buying candy at 8 years old to sell. Can you recall, like, do you think that there was something that was motivating you to do that? Can you just dig up like what that felt like for you, or no?
Yeah, if you throw someone in a pool, they have to swim or die. And so I just had to swim. And I knew we didn't have much money. We were living, when we first moved to San Diego, we were living in like this 80-year-old lady's extra room. She only had a 2-bedroom, like a little apartment. My mom and I shared a room when I was 8 years old till like 11 or 12. So like I just lived in an extra room with my mommy. So I wanted to make money. I knew the money was a situation. And she was working, she had a job, but she was working for the JFS, the Jewish Federation Services, to feed senior citizens. And so she's working, but when you're working in a volunteerish type job, you don't make much money, right? But that was a passion of hers. And ultimately that's who she was able to, her next 21-year relationship was with the guy that she met at that project. And so I just knew, like I said, I knew that I had to make money, and I wanted to make money. I had it in me that I wanted to make money, and not to buy anything. It was giving it to her or flipping more stuff. And so middle school, I kept doing the candy thing. I added in cereal boxes, like the little cereal boxes that you can buy a 6-pack for. I was buying the 6-pack for $2, selling them $1 per box. So I'm getting $6 for $2, crushing it. And I had every teacher, literally not even my own teachers, every teacher was selling cereal boxes at their front desk. And then I would pick up the money every Friday from them. And so I had this whole gamut, like across all of the classrooms that I could. I gave them all 6 to 24 boxes, depending on the levels to it, like who could sell more. I gave them 6 to 24 boxes, and they were selling for me.
The craziest thing about that is, and you know, you're not the first person to tell me these stories at such a young age, hustling and making moves. I too was, you know, selling. I mean, literally, as early as I can remember, if I had a toy that I was bored with, I would ask my older sister, I grew up in New York City, to come downstairs with me. I'd lay down a sheet on the corner of 87th Street and 2nd Avenue, and I would sell all of my toys, even the ones that I was stoked about, for $1 a piece. And I got addicted to it. I remember very clearly. By the time I was 11 years old, I was walking 35 dogs in my neighborhood.
Whoa.
By the time I was 14 years old, I was handing out flyers for nightclubs. Like I got connected with these nightclub guys. I ultimately landed a job with every single promoter that was killing it in New York City, doing like envelope stuffing for all of their parties. And I was getting paid $15 an hour per guy, but I had 5 of my friends that I was paying $7 an hour to. So I was just like, it's just so interesting that the mind of an entrepreneur it works that way. It's like, that is why this podcast exists for me, because people like you are so inspiring for so many other people. The fact of the matter is, though, is it sounds like you have been doing this shit since you were fucking born.
Yeah. So high school, same thing, except now I'm allowed to work. I'm 15 years old. Once I get to be 15 and a half, I got to start driving the car. And so I got 3 jobs simultaneously. I was working at the stadium, Peanuts, Cracker Jacks here. And then I'm working at Ruby's Diner with a sailor's cap on. And then I'm working for a stockbroker under the table for a couple hours a day. And so I've got 3 jobs now, but I still have the candy hustle. So I only have 5 teachers doing it for me. I don't get the whole school. I get 5 teachers to sell for me. So I got the candy hustle. I have like a weekly fantasy sports thing I'm doing, when it wasn't really fantasy sports back then. It was just like everybody picked teams that they liked. I just had to, every angle I could. I was working and selling at all times, and still trying to keep up my grades. And so at 17 years old, I'd saved up. Now, at this point, I had never had any overhead because I didn't buy anything, right? I had an 82 Buick Regal, which cost $400, and that was it. I never bought anything. And so I'd saved up over the course of time $43,000 for college, for San Diego State University. And because I knew I wasn't going to get a scholarship, and I knew that I was going to go there for business, and it's a great business school, et cetera. But instead, at 17, my partner is the polar opposite. His dad owns a company doing $200 million a year. The kid, he's 17 years old. He's got a Corvette and an Escalade at the same time.
What was he? He was your partner in what?
That's what I'm getting to now. We trademarked the catchphrase, "Who's your daddy?" So we own the name "Who's your daddy" for over 300 products. And so it happened because he kept saying it. He kept saying, "Who's your daddy?" And the girls took it sexually. The teachers thought it was funny. The dudes thought it was like, strong, confident. Everybody had a different reason, but everybody laughed or smiled because the name was just funny. And at the time, nobody had trademarked it. And so my older brother said, "Oh," because I started making T-shirts, selling them with just big, ugly, just said the name on it. That was it. Literally just got printed at the local shop. But I was selling them for $15 a shirt. And sometimes I'd do deals. If you bought multiple, I'd sell for $10 a shirt. But I'd made $1,500. I'm like, I'm a millionaire. That's it. I know what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. I'm gonna sell T-shirts. And I was just selling them at lunchtime at the quad. And so my older brother mentions, "You should trademark it." Didn't know what that meant. Went and trademarked it. I wasn't even 18 yet, so I had to they did a delayed trademark because I wasn't even able to have a corporation yet. So anyways, we ended up trademarking not just for clothing, but for barbecue sets and paper goods, wallets, accessories, leather, etc. So we go to a clothing convention called Magic in Las Vegas. We get to the convention and we go to register and they don't let us register because we're not 21 years old. We're literally 17 and a half. And so one of the guys in line says, if you show them a business card instead of your driver's license, then it'll be fine. You can just show that with your paperwork. We're like, where the hell do we get a business card from? This is 1999, right? So we go outside, we get into a taxi, and I still believe in fate because of this moment. Get into this taxi, the most random driver you can imagine, and we're like, we got to find a way to get a business card. And he was like, well, there's something like a Kinko's, but they're not open today, and because they weren't 24 hours at the time. He was like, but I know this grocery store that has a machine that you can make business cards, like a vending machine. What?
Mind blown.
So he takes us there. It's like $5. We make business cards, get back over there, turn our business card, get our booth, and we splurged. We thought we were going to have the biggest booth at the convention because we got 2 booths instead of 1. So we got 20 feet instead of 10 feet. So we get in there and we're schlepping all of our clothing that we just printed. And we walk in and all you see is this booth called FUBU, and it's the entire walkway. I mean, it is an actual castle. And then we're walking around, we can't find our booth. We know our booth number is right next to FUBU, but we can't find it because it's like literally a city block in New York. We find it and we're like this, wedged in between this new brand that just launched the same exact show called Sean John.
Oh my gosh.
The whole walkway. And Diddy made it 2 stories, and he's got Mary J. Blige and performances and the whole 9. So we're like the little engine that could. It's me, my partner, and 2 like high school girls in a boombox, and that's our booth. And we have like a clothing rack. And so the good thing for us is every single major buyer on the planet came by because they were seeing FUBU and Sean John.
I think that was the best positioning you could have had, man. I mean, talk about fate in the taxi cab, like fate being wedged in between FUBU and Sean John at your first event ever. It's incredible.
So we ended up writing almost $1 million in orders from 4 stores here, 22 stores here, 16 stores here. We get a big order from Yellow Rat Bastard in New York and Dr. J's in New York. We're getting good size orders from them. On the West Coast, we're getting Mr. Rags. Like these are chains that some of them don't even exist anymore. We're getting good size orders like 20K, 100K, 50K, 200K, 50K, 10K, 8K.
Just t-shirts that said, "Who's your daddy?"
T-shirts, hoodies, hats. That's it. And then we showed for the future we'll have leather jackets and shorts and pants, whatever. But really we were making just t-shirts, hoodies, and hats. So Nordstrom's came by on day 1 and offered us a $1 million exclusive for the year. We pooped our pants because we were like, what the hell? Like we were going to say yes. My partner called his dad. I called my brother, and both of them said almost word for word, pack up the booth and come home. Don't do it. And we both told them no. They're like, you're not going to be able to fulfill the order. And if they want it, that means it's because you're onto something. Yeah. So we obviously stayed the whole weekend. We were never leaving. We stayed through the weekend, did over $1 million in orders. Here's the problem. That sounds super cool. We didn't have a manufacturer, and we didn't have the way to come up with $500,000 to make the clothes. You get $1 million in orders. Guess what? You need $500K to make it. And people don't realize that when you get $1 million in orders and you got to come up with $500K, they don't give you a penny. And by the way, they're not going to pay you until net 30 or net 60 or net 90 of once they got the product. So let's use an example. It's January 1st for the example. Actually, the convention was February 1st. So February 1st is the example. They write the order. We now have to come up with $500K to make that product, which is going to come, let's say, April or May at best. So let's say April. Let's say, woohoo, we crushed it. April gets here. That means we're going to do a May 1 delivery. So they ordered on 2/1, February 1st. We're going to ship on 5/1. May 1st. From May 1st, when they get their product, they're going to pay us either 6/1, 7/1, or 8/1. Even if they tell us 6/1, they might not pay us till 7/1 or 8/1. So here's the other problem. What if your clothing actually sells through? And this applies to phone cases, plants, lamps, whatever you're selling. Doesn't matter. Hats, doesn't matter what you're selling. What if it sells through? So you ship it on 5/1. They sell through by 6/1. They haven't paid you yet. And usually their next order is 2 to 6x your original order because it goes to more stores. Now what happens? Your $1 million in orders goes to like $3, $4, $5 million in orders. You haven't been paid from the first one, and now you got to come up with $2 million to make your $4 million. You see the problem? So that's what happened.
So that is what happened.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. That was real life.
Wow.
So the way to figure it out was, all right, who makes clothes? We got to find a manufacturer. So on the last day of the show, we went booth to booth to all the cool booths and to like the booths that felt similar, like sportswear products. And we just said, hey, who makes your stuff? Like we literally just went and asked, like, hi, we're 17 years old. Who makes your stuff? And everybody's giving us recommendations. Cell phones don't exist back then. There's no, this is 1999. And so people are making recommendations. They're telling us what to do, where to go. We're listening to like so many different people. Our heads are spinning. And then this one guy says, oh, there's a show in San Diego this week. You guys are in San Diego, right? It's called ASR, the Action Sports Retail Convention. You guys should come out there and meet us. We were like, we're not just going to go there. We want a booth. They're like, you guys are crazy. You can't have a booth. It's this week. You're talking about people pay for their booths months in advance. I said, no, we're going to get a booth. We're going to find the booth. And so we start asking people that have action sports related booths, are they going to that show? And if you are, who's your contact? And so we actually found out who the guy was. He happened to be at the show at Magic. He ends up coming over to meet with us because someone refers us. Boom, he gets us a booth. Next part of the crazy story is, which leads me to New York, by the way, is we go there, we literally show up with the van with our stuff in the back as our booth. And he's like, hey, I don't actually have any spaces because we're sold out. This is a freaking 40,000 person show. We're sold out, but you can put like basically like a tent, a pop-up booth next to the first booth at the check-in station where everybody registers.
Amazing.
And I was like, whoa.
Incredible location.
40,000 people have to stop by, right? So we literally make a pop-up tent, same thing, boombox, 2 girls. We have my mom's couch. I took my mom's couch. That was our booth. So I paid for it on my mom's credit card, which she still brings up 20 years later. So
I'm sure she's been paid back.
She has been paid back, yes. So we set up this booth, and here's the good thing. 40,000 people are standing in line in front of your booth. Sounds amazing. They're not in buying mode, obviously, because they're there. They just schlepped across the country or across the world to get their register. It's 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. They're waiting in line. It's not the time to like interact with them much. You're trying to, but it doesn't really happen. The problem is after around 2 p.m. on day 1, the next 4 days, nobody comes back to the registration booth. And so we were actually in the deadest spot possible. Yikes. However, this changed my entire life for the best. So my booth is next to Calvin Klein. The president of Calvin Klein, who wasn't planning on being there because he doesn't need to be at the Action Sports Show. He just did it because he was already at Magic. He's like, I'll just drive over. It's easy. I love San Diego. Calvin Klein's right next to us. We end up becoming good friends with this guy named Carlos Vasquez. And he was like, hey, whenever you guys come to New York, come see me. I'm inside of the building. I just did a deal with Fubu Ladies and Sean John Underwear. I was like, oh, that's cool. And so the show ends that Sunday. Monday at 6 a.m., we get on a plane to New York. Mind you, there's no cell phones. I didn't tell him we were going. So the next day, Monday, 6 a.m., we get on a plane and go to New York. We land there around whatever it is, 3 o'clock. And at like 4:40, we know they close at 5. At 4:40, we walk in to the Fubu ladies office that has Calvin Klein and walk right up to the lady at the front desk. And she was like, oh, who's your appointment with? We're like, oh yeah, it's with Carlos Vasquez. She's like, no, it's not. So, yeah, we're here to meet with Carlos. She's like, there's nothing on the books. He just flew back today. There's no appointments today. I said, no, he told us to come and visit him. And he happens to be walking by and he looks over like he saw a ghost. He's like, boys, what are you doing here?
That's incredible.
So yeah, so that moment ended up changing the whole scope of my life. We sit down for the next couple hours. He brings over this guy named Elliot Levine, who was the CEO of Jordache, the previous CEO of Donna Karan, the previous CEO of Perry Ellis. So he's like the actual legend of all legends of 3 of the biggest brands in history. He's like, you're gonna get like 5 minutes with this guy. Just come meet him real quick. Ends up meeting with us for 4 hours.
Wow.
And literally that 4 hours is more information that I've learned in my last 20 years, because he taught me everything about the real estate game, how manufacturing works, how the department store works, how the buyers work, and everything between. We ended up forming a company together, which would take too long to talk about, but we ended up buying up 6 brands. We bought Rough Riders. So we owned DMX's brand. We had a brand with Kevin Garnett called Official Block Family. We bought the Sean John Underwear license. It was this whole crazy like merger deal that we ended up doing together. That would take a whole nother.
And you were still pre-18.
I'm 18. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so how did you guys raise the money to do all those deals?
Yep. So in that structure, we ended up raising $6 million, $1 million per brand. So we only had to raise 631,000. That's the exact number I remember. 631,000, even though we were the largest shareholder of this like merger deal of these 6 brands, because we were the ones going to run it full time out of our office in San Diego and LA, and our warehouse in LA, and our showroom at the Empire State Building. And we were going to pay for all that stuff. And in return, Sean John, DMX, all these other guys had to raise $1 million each, which they all did. And we did this whole like merger thing. And so in that same week, right when we got back from New York, the money raising thing, that took months and months. It wasn't like overnight.
Mm-hmm.
There was lots of paperwork to do that.
And at that same time, you were building up the other business and getting your shit sorted out with warehouse and all that stuff.
So I went with my partner, we went to downtown LA, where it's called Santee Alley, which still exists to this day. And it is like, it's a wild experience, like its own world. It's like a swap meet mixed with clothing, mixed with, you could buy lizards and turtles next to, it's like being in Mexico, like on the streets where they're selling you stuff, like chicle, and they're selling you dolls, and they're selling you jeans, and they're selling you counterfeit goods and counterfeit watches, whatever you want. But also like all the clothing manufacturers are there too. It was fascinating.
Wow.
So we're walking through the streets, and that moment changed my life also. We literally walked into clothing booths, into like warehouses, like literally like closed down warehouses, and walking in like and seeing them with like 50,000 pairs of jeans. Like, hey, do you guys make stuff? And hey, could you recommend us somewhere? We find this guy. He's like, oh, you should meet with Christopher Wicks. His son, Christian Wicks, is still one of my best friends 20 years later. He said, that guy is who you got to meet. You'll love him. So we go meet this guy. And he owned the licenses to Hang 10, Ocean Pacific, Body Glove, LA Gear. He was like another legend of all legends. And he had the license to Fender guitars at the time. And he owned a brand called English Laundry, which was like a button-up brand, which he later sold for like 120 or 130 million bucks. And so this guy was like became our dad figure. He took us under his wing. He took a piece of our company. He's the one that helped us do all those deals. Within less than a year, he's the one, when I always talk about, I got a $9.5 million licensing deal from Starter Apparel. He's the one that got that for me. So he's
that was for Who's Your Daddy? That was that $9.5 million licensing.
Everything was Who's Your Daddy. Everything I'm talking about is all for one brand only.
Oh my gosh.
And so he got us a $9.5 million licensing deal when I'm 19 years old, a guaranteed minimum contract for 3 years. And that literally set up my whole life, because no matter all the roller coasters that happened, being a young entrepreneur, people overcharging me for samples, like people would charge me $34,000 for 12 samples when it should have been like $1,500. Like I was getting attacked left and right because I'm 17, 18, 19 years old. Everybody was taking advantage of me. Those royalty payments and those contracts, I always said over and over and over, similar to how Cuban says sales cures all, I always say I'll outperform it. Meaning if we had a bad situation, or we had a lawsuit and we couldn't afford the legal bills, or we had somebody screwed us for samples, I was going to outperform it. I was going to go sell more, go get more deals, go get more contracts, go get more sales, that I could outperform the bad hiccups along the way.
I love that philosophy, man. I mean, the craziest thing now is that, me just sort of looking at your career, and, when Gary Vaynerchuk introduced us, and I'm grateful that he did. And I've been sort of digging up. I mean, you have spoken at over 200 events. The events that you put on yourself are some of the most renowned worldwide. I mean, you're a multiple-time founder. You're an investor in 36, maybe now 37 with Creatures of Habit, small businesses and large businesses. I guess the question that I have, what is it that separates you from the rest? Why are you able to do what you do? Is there a component?
Yeah, it's one word. It's relentless. I just do relentless effort, relentless action. And so there's so much things happening because I'm relentlessly doing it every day, day in, day out, day in, day out. When you start to do the math on 20 years of doing this stuff times 365, you're like, wait a minute, that's like 7,000 days that I just kept doing stuff over and over and over. If you did anything 7,000 times, or you made 7,000 phone calls, or you made 7,000 emails, or you made 7,000 text messages, it compounds. Well, I wasn't doing one a day. I was doing 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 a day. And so if I'm doing 10 or 20 calls a day, 10 or 20 sales a day, 10 or 20 meetings, like if I'm doing these things over and over and you times it by thousands, the math gets crazy. And so my relentless effort to just do the same things over and over and over, nothing about me is magical. I just, every single day I'm doing stuff nonstop, all the time. And I like it. It's not like whatever you call it, hustle, whatever, hustle porn or hustle mentality. I enjoy it. So I don't feel like it's stressful. I wouldn't like the opposite, meaning you couldn't pay me to go sit on a beach. You literally couldn't.
I know. I wish that there was an opportunity for me to feel a sense of relaxation. But I say to my wife, like, whenever she's like, oh, let's go take a vacation, my answer to her is like, okay, but I don't want to take a vacation on a beach because it'll take me 7 days of like winding down, if I can even get there, to want to just lie down on the beach. I don't think it's part of, and I think that that's probably a shame in some cases, because I wish that there was an opportunity for me, and it sounds like for you, to just be able to like chill and not feel the desire. And I agree too, man. Like I actually fucking love it. I had a guy on the podcast recently. His name is Will Ahmed. He founded a company called Whoop. And I asked him what it meant to be a successful entrepreneur. And he said, what it means to be a successful entrepreneur is an individual that has the ability to deal with an overwhelming amount of chaos and stress, far more than the average individual, with a level of calm. And I was like, that could very well be the best fucking way to describe what it means, right? Like it's really the threshold. It's a threshold thing, I think. And just I think for me, it's an inherent passion for discovery. I'm a fucking hunter. I love to dig in the dirt and see what the fuck I can make happen. Business is what you do. What do you think, if you could put three sort of components together, or three elements that define what a successful business is, what do you think what components would you put together?
Yeah, the first thing is that people care, right? When I say care, it means they actually want your service, product, or like they want it. And you don't have to force them or trick them to want it. A lot of people are proud about being able to, if I do this and I make the color blue, and then maybe they'll click on it and then maybe they'll buy it, and then ha ha ha. Like if you have to do that, you don't have something that people actually want or need. And so I think one level of success in business is making a product or service that people want and that are willingly wanting to reorder or share. And so if they like your oatmeal, or they like your service, or they like your fitness training, and they want to recommend you, then you have a good product or service. And so that's a level of success to me. 2, people vote with their wallets, right? It's easy for your grandma and your friends to be like, oh, I love your oatmeal. I love your hats. I love your shirts. I love your headphones. I love this. It's easy to say that, right? Or easy to post it or comment that, even easier. But to actually vote with their wallets and buy your headphones, or buy your oatmeal, or buy your hats, or pay for your training, that's it. They're voting with their wallets. And so that's a big thing, is when people actually pay for your stuff, whether they're your friends, your strangers, people that don't know you, that's the next level of success. And then 3rd, when the notoriety is happening and the sales are happening with or without you, meaning your oatmeal, your hats, your headphones, your training, people are talking about you in different cities, states, and countries at all hours of the day and night, whether you're doing anything or not. And so it's kind of like the concept of making money while you sleep. It's similar, but it's people talking about you, thinking about you, and spending money on you while you sleep. I think that's compelling.
I am so excited to be stepping into the world of that life. My business for the last 12 years has been in the restaurant space, and you don't make money while you sleep in the world of restaurants. It is a full-on boots on the ground style business. That is probably what makes it so difficult and challenging. So the world of direct to consumer packaged goods is the world that I'm walking into. And I'm so excited to understand what it feels like to if all works out, experience that. Culture. How important is culture? Two questions. How important is culture to you as an individual in general? And then a more specific question, how important is culture in a digital business?
So I look at culture for two different things. One, I look at the word because it has different meanings. I look at culture of a brand, right? Does the people out there in the world, how do they look at your brand? The culture of it, to me, is almost like the brand or the personal brand of what it is. A different culture is the actual staff, the team, the employees, the customers. What is their culture like? And so I look at the word culture because it does have double meanings for a brand, and it needs both. Right? Culture-wise, people have to like creatures of habit, or they have to like your headphones, or they have to like your gym, or they have to like your food, or they have to like your phone case company. They have to like what it embodies. What does that brand embody, and who does it speak to? On the flip side, similar to what I said about being able to things happening while you're not there, my companies run based on culture when I'm not there. I have a sports card business 2 blocks from here, and then over in Salt Lake City. And those businesses, if I'm gone for 5 days at a time, or if I'm gone for 2, 3 weeks, they still run, and they still run in efficiency because the employees and the customers, their cultures have combined and they enjoy each other. And the employees live and breathe for me in a space that's very I want to say the word almost dangerous for me as an owner, because there's millions of dollars of sports cards in that store, right? And they're carrying around thousands of dollars of cards, tens of thousands of dollars of cards. They're walking back and forth. They got boxes that are $5,000, $1,500. I have to trust them explicitly because I don't have time to sit and micromanage, especially a 24-hour business. They're selling cards 24 hours a day. And so can I catch them? I can, but it would be a lot of work. And so I have to build a culture that they don't want to steal from me.
And how do you do that?
Well, one, I incentivize them. So they're all getting bonuses based on sales as a group. And so they all want each other to win. Two, I do have armed security and lots of cameras, so they feel the presence around them, but they could get away with stuff. Let's be real. Like if they want to, just like in the restaurant game and nightclub game, the bar game, people are stealing at all times from every angle. But I go in knowing that. And three, we don't hire anybody that we don't like. Like the staff helps hire the other staff. So just because someone's really good at breaking up with sports cards, or just because someone's good at retail, I don't even choose that. I choose them first, meaning like this person fits, and then the staff actually does the interview, not me, because they're the ones that have to work with them all day and night. I don't. And so I literally let the staff hire the staff. And so from a company culture perspective, they like it because they're having group meetings. They're staying up at 4 a.m. together. They're going to get donuts at 7 a.m. after selling cars all night. Like they have to live and breathe with each other. I don't spend that much time with them. I would like to see them. I go into the store as often as I can, but that culture has to be between them and their customers. And the customers have to enjoy them and feel it because they got lots of options. Customers can buy oatmeal, headphones, training services, food, or sports cards from anyone else, right? There's lots and lots of competitors. They buy from people that they like. People buy from people that they like. And so I make my brands have that culture, whether it's my live events, whether it's my social media agency, whether it's my sports car business, my acai bowl chain. Every single brand is very, very similar. People go to our acai bowl chain because we built that feeling that people enjoy being at Everbowl. People go to my live events because I make it inviting for everyone to be there. And so I try to make that culture part for every company.
Do you think, I mean, I'm hearing it from you, and I think you and I are very similar here. Would you say that culture could be the most important component to the brands that you've built and founded?
Absolutely. That people have to live and breathe it because business is 24/7, 365, doesn't care about holidays, doesn't care about people being sick. It is a business that goes on and on and on. So whether I have a poker site, I want it to be the coolest poker site. I have an energy drink, I want it to be the best tasting energy drink. When I made hoverboards, I want to be the coolest hoverboards that had lights and speakers and Bluetooth head, like everything I'm trying to build, I'm making sure that the people enjoy it long after me. Like if I own an airline, I would be literally polar opposite of all airlines because my seats would be comfortable throughout the entire plane.
Are you going to own an airline?
No. I think it's insanity that the chairs on airplanes are so bad and that we're all squeezed together like sardines. It's insanity because for an extra 12 inches or an extra 2 feet of the whole plane, 3 feet of the whole plane, adding an extra 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches per seat and adding a fabric that's the exact same price, by the way, it's nothing, adding material that's not the exact same price and adding in a little charger and those super, super basics that would cost them nothing different and they would pay for on the first flight out of the tens of thousands of flights that plane's going to do, they can make it more comfortable. And so culture-wise, people joke about Spirit Airlines. They joke about Southwest. They joke about these airlines that are rude, cheap, insulting, uncomfortable, etc. Why? The price difference is nothing, like literally nothing for an airplane. You're going to spend $18 million in that plane or $7 million in that plane. You're not going to spend extra $100K on the seats. You're not going to spend extra 1% on the seats that we literally sit in the whole time. And so from a culture perspective, I think it's critically important, whatever business that you're doing, to have that because people are going to think about that and remember that. And then that's how they make their purchasing decisions and their recommendations to other people.
So it's, I think we've cleared up that for you and I think for probably most smart entrepreneurs, culture is a real focal point. What about marketing? You own a social media agency, one of the strongest social media sort of influencer agencies around today. What do you think marketing? What is the strongest form of marketing today? And then I've got a couple follow-up questions for that. But what's the strongest form of marketing today?
So the reason I'm biased on influencer marketing is because it's the cheapest form of marketing in the world. And what I mean by that is if you're paying for TV, radio, billboard, magazine, all the traditional things that have been around for decades, they take months to create and they cost $10 to $40 CPM rate, which is cost per 1,000 eyeballs. So you're paying $10 to $40 on average per 1,000 people that see it. On social media with influencers, it averages around $1. So you're not talking about 10 or 20 bucks versus like 8 or 12. You're talking about 10 to 40 bucks versus 1. And so because of that, I can do it today. I could take that hat you're wearing, have 50 influencers post it today, get a report tomorrow that shows all the analytics, how many people was it reached, what countries, cities, how many people clicked on the site. I can find out everything data-wise tomorrow about what happened today, instead of waiting 1 to 3 months for the creative, for people to post it on the podcast advertisement or the TV advertisement or the billboard up on the freeway. I can do today for 1/10 or 1/20 of the price and find out, did people care? And also, I know that they saw it because they're looking on their mobile phone. The difference is when you watch TV, radio, billboards, etc. Well, billboards, you're supposed to be driving. So you technically shouldn't be looking. And if you did look, it's unlikely that you're going to remember the phone number or website. On TV, what do we do when a commercial comes up? We fast forward. Or we look at our phones. Or we go get food or go to the restroom. None of those is the answer of us watching the commercial, because it's been a long time since we do that.
Unless it's a Super Bowl.
What happens when there's a commercial? Right. What happens when a podcast has radio? We tune it out or we fast forward. If the normal radio has a commercial or the disc jockey start talking, we go to the next channel and come back later. And so we're avoiding commercials, and it's natural for us to do it. It's just innate. Like we just know now to block out commercials. And it's not that commercials are bad. Most of the time they're trying to offer a good product or service or to get brand awareness. However, it's antiquated in how it's delivered. And so people have blocked it out because we're bombarded by 3,500 logos per day. And because of that, in a room that you're in right now, you don't even realize there's Sony and Samsung, Coca-Cola, Dasani, Fiji, like there's Nike, all these brands around you, and you're numb to it. And there's so many. And so with influencers, we know for a fact that the person watching is on their phone. So if they want to make a purchasing decision, or if they want to take notes, or if they want to add in their email list, or if they want to fill out a form, if they want to go visit, I know that they're going to see it because literally in their phone when they saw it. Does that make sense? And so if Michael posts it and I'm following Michael, I'm like, oh, I like Michael, and he just posted about this oatmeal company, I can now click on it and go down the rabbit hole if I want to. If I don't want to, I can keep scrolling. However, if that same oatmeal company is up on a billboard or on a TV show, I don't have my phone in my hand. And if I do, it's not to make that decision. So I'm biased. When I say biased, it's because I own an influencer agency. However, I'm also realistic. If something else was even close in price comparison, I would say it. If something was even close in actual functionality, I would say it. And so I'm biased because of an agency, but I'm unbiased in the fact that it's just real life. It's someone's holding a phone, watching something that they willingly follow. I willingly follow Michael, right? So if I see him, Michael post something, I willingly follow him. I didn't get pushed it. I did not get pushed the advertisement. I follow Michael because I want to, and all his followers do too. And so for influencer marketing, that's why I like it so much, is that it's very affordable, it's very effective, it's very fast.
I think that was an amazing breakdown of why influencer marketing is ultimately what brands should be looking at today, and stop wasting their energy, time, and money on the bigger stuff that we all used to know as marketing. I also do believe that, I can only speak really for my industry, or for restaurants, but word of mouth happens to be a really, really big form of marketing for the world of restaurants. And it's so much harder to sort of quantify ROI. And I know ROI in social media and influencer marketing is sort of, it's a lot easier in a direct to consumer business, right? Because it's a click through and you can see a conversion. But for a business where you're not able to make purchases online, it's a lot harder to quantify what social media and influencer marketing is doing for you. That said, I've been doing, I think that there's a right way and a wrong way for brands to sort of envision their social media or / influencer marketing strategy. And I've been on both sides of the coin in my, throughout my career. And I will say that I think probably one of the most interesting questions I wanted to ask you today was, in the influencer marketing arena, what is the right way for brands to ask their influencers to promote their businesses? Because I know that, being an influencer myself as well, in a few different things that I've done over the years, when a brand asks me to promote a company and have a promo code and a swipe up, and I have zero interest in being a part of it, because it does not feel at all authentic in any way, shape, or form. The brands that I've worked with over the years, that I've worked with on a long-term basis, that I've been really successful with, are the brands that are like, yo, I like your lifestyle. I want to be associated with you. We want our brand to be associated with you. Use the product and post it whenever the fuck you want. And that's it. We're not asking you to swipe up. We're not asking you to promo code it. We're asking you to make it part of your life if you want to. And if it works, we'll continue this relationship. I believe that is probably the most effective form of influencer marketing, but you're the pro, so let me know.
Sure. So we spent $60 million in the last year on influencers, and I refuse to ever post discount codes. I don't do it. And the reason is, one, Michael's not going to want to buy because I posted 10% off or 20% off. So if Michael's following me and I say, oh, this is 10% off or 20% off, that is not a trigger button for Michael to go buy this shirt or buy this protein or buy this phone case. 10 or 20% is not going to be the emotional trigger. Listen, if it was 50% off or 70% off, people make a purchasing decision based on that crazy percentage. Most brands don't do that. Most brands say, hey, we got this amazing concept. Let's do 10% off. Let's track the link and make them do this and enter the code. Michael, if someone wants to buy something, they know how to buy it. And the 10 or 20% off is not what the driver is whatsoever. Your product or service or feature or movie or video game or whatever, that product, that person knows how to buy it. Fans and followers know how to buy. If a girl sees a Fashion Nova dress, she knows how to go to fashionnova.com. You don't need to tell her to go to fashionnova.com. You don't need to offer her 10 or 20% off. You can do those things once she gets there. And so you'll notice the last half a decade, Fashion Nova doesn't even say go to fashionnova.com. You literally watch the influencer post. They don't even say 10% off, 20% off. Unless they're doing their crazy 80% off thing, they don't even bring it up. Once they get you hooked into the site, now they'll email you, retarget you till you die with different offers and different discounts. But on the front facing, girl sees girl wearing fashionable dress, girl knows what to do. That's it. You don't need to close the loop for them. They know how to buy. And so the way you explain it is, if you're posting about a company or a product because you like it, and I'm your fan or follower, I now know how to go buy it. You don't have to say, go to Nike.com. Like, if you're telling me, oh, I love these new Nike shoes and I got this new Nike backpack and I'm using this new Nike stuff at the for my training, Dan knows how to go buy Nike, just like everybody does. And so I think the biggest miss for most brands is they're making them hold up the product like this with 10% discount code, put in my name in the code. It's not only is it inauthentic, it's unnecessary. Like, if I like the product the way you described it, if you like the backpack, I know how to go buy the backpack.
So if there were some people, sitting here today that either own their own brands or are on the team of sort of, marketing team of some brands that are already doing influencer marketing or looking to explore influencer marketing, is there a strategy that you can just tell them that is more successful than anything else?
3 posts. The very first post is an unboxing video or an experience. So they're saying, hey, I just got these headphones. I love these headphones. This is so cool. This company just sent me these headphones. Or I just bought these headphones for my brother, my girlfriend, my sister, my wife, my husband, whatever. So the first video or photo being unboxing or the delivery. Your second post is a use case. I use the headphones at the gym, or I use the headphones on the bus or the subway, or I use the headphones. And when I was on the subway, I couldn't hear anybody else. I was so in the zone. Or I was at the gym. I didn't realize I was there for 2 hours. I was only going to go for 1 hour. Like, a use case that they actually like the headphones and why. On the third post, this is why we have a 3 post minimum at our agency. On the third post, now you can make a call to action. Now you can bring up the Beats by Dre headphones. You don't have to do a discount code. Now you can say where to go or why to go, if you even need to do that. If it's a new brand, you'll probably have to say what your website is. Any other mainstream brand or even middle tier brand, you don't have to say what it is. You can be clear about what the brand or product is, not exactly say, because they can just Google it, right? They know how to Google real quick. Or tagging the product or brand in the photo, same thing. They know how to go down the rabbit hole if you just tag them in the photo or video. And so first one is delivery. Second one is usability. Third one is some type of call to action or a explanation of what happened while using it. Meaning, I've been using these headphones for 3 weeks now. It's just changed my life, how much better they are than the other ones. Or I've been eating this oatmeal for 3 weeks now, or I've been taking these supplements for 3 weeks now. Saying past the use case, but now explaining what happened over the last couple of weeks with it, now it becomes even more compelling.
That's fucking amazing. So if anybody here is listening and you are trying to develop a strategy for your influencer marketing campaigns, Dan, who just said he spent $60 million in the last year on influencers with his companies, this is the strategy that he just put in front of you to be the most successful. He spent $60 million. Yes, $60 fucking million on influencers. And this is the strategy that he uses with his own agency and that he deploys for his companies as well. So I think that could be the most valuable piece of content that we drop on the episode today. And I know for sure that I'm going to fucking deploy that with Creatures of Habit. A few more questions, man. And then I'm going to let you go. Biggest lesson ever learned? You've done a lot and you've had a lot of success and it's inspiring for millions of people. What is there a lesson that you can share with us that was challenging for you and that you took the most learning out of?
Sign contracts with everyone, including your mom. And what that means is there are so many years where I would do a deal with my boy or my friend or my friend's friend. And hey, I'm going to raise you $1 million for your company. And I'm going to introduce you to this guy. And then it happens, right? 5 months later, that guy puts in $1 million and they go off and make $1 billion. And I didn't mention that I wanted 5%, or I didn't mention that I wanted to have equity, or I didn't mention anything. And I didn't have a contract. The guy promised it to me, but nothing happened. And then I'm like, hey, this guy's got a product and he's selling fire alarms for houses and fire alarms for buildings. I'm like, oh, my friend owns this chain of hotels. They got 18 locations. I'm going to get you into those locations if you can give me 5% commission. I'll get you into these 18 hotels. It's like the best hotels in New York. And he's like, yeah, that's amazing. Great. I introduce him. This guy owns all the best hotels in New York, 18 hotels. Boom, meet the fire alarm guy. Boom, makes an order for $2.3 million. It's a reoccurring order because you got to replace your fire alarms. Ends up being worth tens of $millions of dollars. Dan doesn't get anything. You know why? I didn't have a basic contract. And so people lose the value after services are rendered. Meaning you would pay whatever it takes to get into the concert before you get into the concert, right? You pay the scalper, whatever it takes. You just want to get into the concert. Once the concert's over, you wouldn't have paid $600 or $400 for those tickets, right? Once services are rendered, it would feel real hard to go pay back $1,200 for 2 tickets to that concert after you've gone to the concert. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so the same thing happens. People have really short memories when it comes to business. I call it selective amnesia, where you got them the $1 million or you got them the $2.3 million order. You helped them with their business and they promised you something and then you didn't get it. On the flip side, there's lots of deals I do where I just do it because I want to, right? Hey, you guys want to meet? My friend owns 18 hotels. You should meet. That's fine. If I did it and I didn't say anything, then it doesn't matter. But if I said, hey, I want to get 5%, and that person said, I'm going to give you 5%, and I don't make even just a basic 1-pager, it's my fault.
Gotcha.
And so them being a jerk is their fault. Like they should still follow through what they should do on that commission. However, ultimately, I wish I would have done that more over the course of my life, making that basic agreement or making what's called a scope of work, an SOW. By having a scope of work and saying, if I do this, and if you do this, this is what will happen. And if you don't do that, and I don't do this, this is what will happen. And by doing that, that would relieve a lot of situations because most relationships break up, whether it's personal arguments with your partners and employees, arguments with your vendors, etc. Most of it is broken up in huge altercations over communication. And to make the communication clearer, you make a scope of work. Hey, I want to get my clothing delivered to me in 3 weeks. And at that point, that person can say, I can't get it to you in 3 weeks. I can get it to you in 5 weeks. And then I can make a decision and we can agree on it. And that's going to be in 5 weeks. But if I just say, and I expect it to be in 3 weeks, and he expects it to be in 5 weeks, and neither of us mentioned it, whose fault is it? It's yours. And so making a scope of work or making a simple agreement is what I wish I would have done much earlier in my career.
I have a lot of identification with that. I'm sort of like one of these connector kind of guys. So I tend to have friends that are looking to do things and I introduce people, and similar to you, like, I mean, you've got more friends than I do and you introduce people that have a lot more money than friends that I know. When do you think it's appropriate to ask for a piece?
Sure. I think when there's a clear situation, meaning, hey, I'm going to get you $2.3 million order for your fire alarms. That's a clear financial thing. You can then ask for something. If I say, hey, let's all go to a restaurant tonight and my buddy owns 18 hotels and you guys meet and then they go off and sell $2.3 million in fire alarms, that's not somewhere I would ever ask for anything. So I think it comes up when there's a clear financial thing. Hey, I'm going to get you into Walmart. I would like 5% or 1% or 2%. Hey, I'm going to get you into 18 hotels. I would like a percentage. In those clear financial scenarios, I would lean towards asking. A ton of the time, I would just introduce people and I would never expect anything. If people I introduce you to, you guys go start Creatures of Habit, for example, you guys end up starting 7 different companies that all exit for $1 billion each. I wouldn't even expect a dinner or watch from you. I don't expect it because I didn't do it for a financial thing. You guys go become friends and go off and make billions of dollars. I wouldn't lose 1 second of sleep at night because I want those things to happen. If I said, hey, Michael, I'm going to get you this order from Target for $10 million. I would like to get 3%. That's different. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. You know, it's crazy, man. I've got so many questions and I think I'm going to have to bring you back on for a part 2 because I just, there's a lot here, but I like these things to be about 45 minutes to an hour and I've already had you for 53.
Perfect.
2 more and then it's over. What drives you, Dan Fleyshman?
I want to save the world. I think that there's certain things in this world that are curable, which is food and shelter. The water part's obvious. There's already great like charity water. There's some great companies that are going to help fix the water situation in our world. But I firmly believe that food and shelter are very simple to cure. And that's our biggest situation, our biggest problem for 2 billion out of our 8 billion humans, 1 in 4 people don't have running water or electricity. That's cuckoo. When you look at where we are as a society and how much money there is now, like, and how much knowledge we have and how much access we have to just build facilities and make efficient foods. My model citizen fund is my practice, and my network I keep building is I'm doing it for a purpose. At some point when I hit that moment, whether it's when I'm 50 or 60 or whatever it's going to be, I want to go full-fledged charity mode and just figure out, I have the ideas of how to figure it out to make efficient foods that can go to 1 billion people in the country and that they can eat per day. And it's not rocket science. It's very, very cheap and affordable to give them healthy food. And right now they have no food. And I think it's insanity when we have people that are donating billions of dollars supposedly to organizations, for food organizations, and then you go look at that country that they're helping and everyone's starving. And I think it's very, very curable because it's not them needing to get 3 fancy full course meals. If they all have protein bars and snack bars and dried cranberries and dried mangoes and like just things to eat, it's better than nothing. Is it going to fix everything? No, but them not having anything is insane to me. And so that's one big passion for me, is I want to fix the food situation because it's very fixable and it doesn't take rocket science. It takes manpower, people to deliver food to hungry people around the planet.
What does happiness mean to you?
Freedom. Everything I'm talking about, I get to do sports cards. I get to do acai bowls. I get to throw live events. Like it looks like I'm doing a lot of different stuff, but it's things that I enjoy, that I like. And so freedom to me is, and each one has its own quarterback. So if I disappear for a week, which I don't, but if I disappear for a week, each one still runs without me. And so to me, I still have freedom. If I don't want to do something for the sports cards, or I don't want to deal with acai bowls, or I don't want to deal with my event, they're still going to run regardless of me.
Last question, dude. Is Dan Fleyshman born or is Dan Fleyshman made?
I mean, I was definitely born into it. And so I think by being born in those circumstances, in those situations, it makes you and builds you into that. And I felt it very, very early. And I know that you can't be made and forced into having the entrepreneur spirit. Meaning, like, I can't take a kid from Harvard and train him to want to work at 3 a.m. or have to stay up for 2 days straight. He's not going to do it, right? It's just not, he doesn't need to. With us, I think the born part of it is, I couldn't do the opposite. You couldn't put me you literally couldn't pay me 10 grand a day to sit on the beach. You couldn't. I just physically I would freak out. I'm getting tense thinking about it. I know it sounds crazy, but I just physically couldn't do it. And so will that change at some point? Hopefully. I hope at some point, if I'm having children, I'm having vacations, that I hope that it changes. But for now, in these moments, I know who I am, and I have self-awareness that it was born.
You're a borner. I knew it. Dan, you're a legend, dude. I'm so stoked that you came on the show. I am going to bring you back on here to ask you a few more specific questions. I'm really excited to be able to have you part of this Creatures of Habit journey that we're about to walk into, and you inspire me, man, and so many others. And I just can only ask that you keep doing that. And dude, I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.